What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
What a joke. I regret to inform you that the talks have come to an end.
I see. I'm sorry to hear that.
Zelario was clearly not disappointed, as seen by his jovial laughter. And then, all of a sudden, the combat started. Uncountable invisible blades shot towards Zelario from the sky as Trainee leapt from the ground and sailed into the air. This was the invisible blade, Trainee's unavoidable special move. This invisible blade was more than just an air compression rupture. It was a spatial feature with the ability to chop off even dimensions. The fact that it could be done without being noticed or requiring any warm-up motions made it clear just how deadly Trainee had become. But the opponent was stronger this time. He was far too powerful. Zelario remained in place without shifting an inch. It wasn't that he didn't know about the blade and couldn't react. Rather, he didn't need to evade. The invisible blade vanished as soon as it appeared to cut Zelario. The surface of Zelario's body was coated in a spatial distortion. A method that bore a striking resemblance to this occurrence was listed in the Labyrinth database. Zijin was an expert in the distortion field. It was an absolute defense method that rendered ineffective any form of attribute attack or even interruptions in space.
What?
The same method utilized by Lord Zijin. That is quite concerning.
Oh, then you're suggesting there's someone here who can defend against space distortion. Was that Zijin? That's interesting. I thought all the high-ups in this nation had been fired, but I see now that I was horribly mistaken.
Notwithstanding his tone, Zelario's expression remained unfazed. He appeared to be having fun, and it was obvious that he hadn't displayed any of his true abilities. This is also why Trainee's expression was so serious. She shot Cherries a quick glance and revised her strategy. Instead of pushing Zelario to concede, she chose to concentrate on buying herself more time. The 5 generals Zelario had brought with him were actually struggling to keep up with the Labyrinthine forces. As a result of the Dragon Lords constantly honing their fighting skills, they were able to display their full potential. The Labyrinthine forces were also practically immortal because the battlefield served as their home base inside the labyrinth. As a result, they were able to battle above their limitations and outplay opponents with similar skill levels. At this rate, we can win, Trainee thought. Though Zelario posed a threat, the others would be dispatched shortly. They could overcome the distortion field defense if they all banded together and maintained this momentum. In the worst situation, they could bide their time until Zelario exhausts himself. That's true. If we can force him to retreat, then we will have fulfilled our requirement for victory. Things don't need to be pushed. But why is he still behaving so composed? Trainee could not get rid of her unease, even if their side ought to be winning. This was due to Zelario's persistently carefree demeanor. A sensible individual would not misjudge the current battle situation. In addition, Zelario had declared himself an army general. It was obvious that a guy capable of commanding Demon Lord-level troops would not make such a basic mistake in judgment.
Isn't this man's purpose to kill the hero Masayuki? No way.
It would be simpler to assassinate Masayuki alone if that was his only goal. Zelario had such a high existence value that it had been disregarded as a possibility.
Lady Ramiris, do you know where Sir Masayuki is located?
Whoa, unexpectedly? Naturally, I am aware of it.
Trainee asked Ramiris a question over the telepathy net. On the other hand, Ramiris wasn't just standing by and watching the fight. Although the intruders posed a significant threat, the evacuation of the city residents was a more urgent concern. The cities that were being forced into isolation were unsafe now that Veldora was on the move. The cities would instantly revert to their natural state if Veldora was defeated. Ramiris's power alone was insufficient to sustain the current state, hence this was inevitable. For this reason, before that could occur, the residents had to be evacuated. Luckily, there was enough unoccupied space to deploy an army on the 95th floor, which was now the 100th floor. All of the town's residents could be admitted, but civilians could not be let into the research facility. Ramiris was frantic to act when Beretta brought this to her attention.
Kindly check on his safety right away.
I think you're worrying too much because they are the only intruders.
Even though Ramiris was also quite busy, she granted Trainee's request. Consequently, Masayuki was safe, as Ramiris had anticipated.
Well, he's okay after all. He is currently in the city assisting with the evacuation of local residents.
Masayuki, as Ramiris stated, was assisting in calming the residents of the city. Had Masayuki not been present, a panic might have broken out, possibly delaying the evacuation. It was during these moments that Masayuki's abilities truly shone. There were no signs of conflict, everything was quiet. Since Ramiris was in charge of the labyrinth in the first place, everything that occurred was immediately apparent. Upon hearing that, trainee at last displayed a look of relief.
I understand, so I can rest assured.
She was still not convinced, though.
Are you bothered by it?
Indeed, there's a danger that the evacuees will become entangled in the enemy's attempt to kill Sir Masayuki.
Trainee wondered if she was overthinking things. Nonetheless, an alarm was sounding somewhere in her thoughts, warning her to be cautious.
I understand. We'll take Masayuki and the others to the 70th floor if Trainee Chan keeps insisting on it.
When Trainee heard this, she was happy. As of right now, the 70th levels included remnants of the Imperial Army. They would buy them some time, even in the event that the assassins turned up.
That way, you can relax, right?
That's correct.
So Masayuki went up to the 71st floor. These folks are too skilled at directing others around. Masayuki exhaled deeply. Everybody in this nation, Rimuru included, was prone to acting independently and on the spur of the moment. That being said, Masayuki sincerely hoped that the guys in the higher ranks would act more circumspectly and consider the perspectives of others. Naturally, it wasn't the case for all of them.
Why can't you show me the same level of concern that Shuna showed?
Unintentionally, his own emotions were revealed through his words. Masayuki wouldn't object if Shuna, an elegant and gorgeous woman, requested him to do something. He was thrilled to assist with the evacuation because of this, but Ramiris was now interjecting. Without missing a beat, she gave a firm command.
I want you to go straight to the 70th floor.
It did not delight Masayuki. However, Ramiris was a formidable entity. She had the support of Veldora in addition to being one of the individuals who was aware of Masayuki's secret. He was powerless to resist her, no matter what she said.
Give it up. Lady Ramiris simply cannot afford it. I don't think she has any malicious motives. It is, after all, evidently an emergency. They have dispatched Sir Veldora as well.
In response, a young man strolling beside Masayuki answered. He wore earrings in the style of snakes. On his finger was a ring of skulls and a rugged wristwatch. He had a poisonous purple shirt on underneath a thorny leather jacket, and he had jangly accessories like a spiked collar around his neck. He wore boots with black soles and long pants with a flap skirt made of glossy black leather. To put it another way, this was known as punk fashion. It was exactly the kind of thing Masayuki disliked. And yet, oddly enough, he'd gotten along fairly well with Masayuki. The fact that the young man was a struggling laborer may have contributed to this. The young man's name was Venom, and he appeared to be always being pushed around by his supervisor into irrational circumstances. Masayuki felt more connected to Venom because of how much his behavior resembled his own.
I have no human rights.
Venom says. After receiving an order from Venom's boss to keep Masayuki safe, the two of them were now cooperating. He'd broken up with Jinrai and it felt too weird to meet Jiwoo and Bernie. As a simple forger, he was powerless to shield Jinrai with his deceptions, thus Masayuki had bid him farewell personally.
You can always call on me if you need me. Meanwhile, I'll be working in the guild here to maintain my skills.
Jinrai then agreed to Masayuki's proposition and joined Tempest's guild, supporting Masayuki in the background. Though he was relieved to see him go, it was nonetheless sad. His shame was disappeared, and he was no longer had to lie to his pals. Then, Masayuki found himself alone when Venom appeared in front of him. Masayuki's weakness was known to Venom. For that reason, he was there to keep him safe, and in spite of his outward look, he was open to hearing Masayuki's viewpoint. In order to protect Masayuki's reputation, he also pledged to assist him. This aligned with Rimuru's objectives as well, so Masayuki seized the opportunity without hesitation. Now, the two had developed a close friendship.
I understand that this is an emergency. Why do they wish to keep me, the hero, apart from the other residents of the town if that is the case?
No, you're not strong enough. You would be powerless to stop an enemy strike, isn't that right?
Yes, I am aware, but it's not right. Everyone's tense expression is tearing at my heart.
Please don't leave, Masayuki could hear the residents say even if they didn't say it explicitly. For this reason, Masayuki was growing irritated with Ramiris's directive. The situation was different, though, from Venom's perspective. The 70th floor was unquestionably safer than the 100th when it came to safety. There were the surmounters on the 70th floor of the research center in addition to a good number of Imperial Army personnel. He believed that once he arrived, the surmounters, who were primarily responsible for the children's protection, would also be able to look out for Masayuki. For Venom, the assignment that Diablo had given him was the most important thing. He had to risk his life to keep Masayuki safe.
Well, it's nice to have you around, but the evacuation is pretty much over, and the 100th floor is perfectly protected.
In fact, one would need to be a floor guardian class to stand a chance against an adversary that could infiltrate thus far. With Gadra gone and Shinji retreating, the 60th floor was now vulnerable, leaving the 70th floor as the first line of defense.
Does that imply that I'm in danger?
That appeared to be the case. Venom nodded.
Yes, but don't be alarmed. This is me. I will assume full accountability for keeping you safe.
Alright, I'm depending on you.
Masayuki genuinely knew a little bit about what was going on. It was possible that he was being targeted by opponents because he had been put on the front lines in this scenario. Had it not been for that, Ramiris would never have taken the chance of putting Masayuki, who had any fighting skills at all, in danger. Additionally, Masayuki had the resurrection bracelet, which gave him the ability to come back to life even if he perished inside the labyrinth. Ramiris may thus use Masayuki as bait for the enemy without concern.
That must be it. Furthermore, it's likely that she did this to avoid involving the other residents. Additionally, she doesn't want to take the chance of them discovering your weakness, so it's best to just comply.
That's true. I am aware of that, but I also have issues of my own.
Jiwoo and Bernie were staying on the 70th floor. Masayuki was more troubled about the awkwardness of perhaps meeting them.
I don't know much about those two, but don't hold it against them too much if they were on a mission. When they tried to kill you, I'm sure they didn't mean what they said. Humans are not like monsters, they are complex. For this reason, demons find humans to be entertaining toys.
Masayuki thought, it's not that simple, as he fixed his gaze on Venom, who was grinning at him. It was true that he was unable to harbor resentment toward Jiwoo or Bernie, but as Venom noted, it was challenging to discern the genuine emotions of people. If that was the case, there was no reason to be concerned. When Masayuki reached the 70th floor and saw the Imperial Army stationed at a construction site, he had at long last made up his mind.
Please never treat me like a toy.
Masayuki changed his tone and spoke casually to his friend Venom, shaking his head in bewilderment. Observing the shift in mood, Venom gave him a sly smile. Although it was his duty to keep Masayuki safe, Venom had a soft spot for Masayuki. Because Masayuki had a strong resolve that persisted despite his flaws, and even when he was motivated by immovable circumstances, Venom secretly respected him despite the fact that they were both exhausted. Although Venom took pride in his rebellious nature, he thought that Masayuki was superior to him for some reason. Thus, Venom made an effort to respond with the best of intentions.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Just a Guy, Misael W. Hernandez, Jason Martin, J. Rule, Sayonori, Liel Tiram, Leiron Sangkap, Eric Haaz, Christopher Mash, Aditya Vyas, Samuel Ward, Faiz Mansour, Arod Dare. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.